History often shows Egypt as a land of gods, gold, and powerful pharaohs. But behind the glory were rulers who died in ways more violent than anyone ever imagined. The violent battlefield, end of King Senebkay, around 1650 BC, during Egypt's chaotic Second Intermediate period, a little-known pharaoh named Senebkay met a shockingly violent death on the battlefield. His existence only came to light in 2014, when archaeologists uncovered his tomb and examined his damaged skeleton. Senebkay's bones revealed he had suffered at least 18 different wounds during his final fight. The pattern of injuries showed he was probably riding a horse when the attack began, with enemies aiming for his unprotected lower body to knock him down. Once he fell, the assault grew even more brutal. His hands carried clear defensive cuts from trying to block the blows. The fatal injuries came from 3 heavy strikes to his skull, delivered with duckbill-shaped battle axes that smashed through bone. Forensic experts believe he stayed conscious through much of the attack, surrounded by enemies hitting him from several directions. The pharaoh died defending himself, but even his royal rank gave him no protection from the harsh, unforgiving violence of ancient warfare. The humiliating fall of Pharaoh Psamtik III. In 525 BC, Egypt stood on the edge of collapse as the Persian Empire under Cambyses II advanced toward its borders. Psamtik III had worn the crown for barely half a year when the Persians arrived, and the decisive clash at Pelusium shattered Egyptian resistance. Defeated and desperate, the young pharaoh retreated to Memphis only to be captured alive. Dragged before Cambyses in chains, Psamtik faced a humiliation no Egyptian ruler had ever endured. Forced to kneel before a foreign king, he was subjected to a cruel display designed to crush whatever dignity he had left. Along with 2,000 young Egyptian nobles, were marched past him toward execution while he watched, powerless. Yet Psamtik kept his composure until he saw an elderly friend among the prisoners, broken and begging. Only then did the pharaoh finally weep. Although Cambyses initially spared him, Psamtik was kept under guard as a living symbol of conquest. But captivity did not tame him. He soon began plotting rebellion against his Persian overlords. When the conspiracy was uncovered, Cambyses chose a death meant to inflict maximum suffering. Psamtik was forced to drink bull's blood, a method that causes the body to collapse internally as the thick fluid clots inside the stomach. In agonizing pain and far from the throne he once held, the last native pharaoh of Egypt died a slow and tormenting death. Overthrown and strangled, the fall of Pharaoh Apries. During the later years of Egypt's 26th dynasty, the kingdom descended into chaos as Pharaoh Apries faced a massive internal revolt. His own army rebelled after a disastrous military campaign, and their popular general, Amasis, was lifted onto their shoulders and proclaimed king. Determined to reclaim his throne, Apries marched toward Memphis with an army of foreign mercenaries, but the clash ended in disaster. His troops were crushed, and Apries was taken alive. Amasis had Apries confined in his former palace, choosing at first to spare him out of respect for royal lineage, but Apries refused to accept defeat. Even in captivity, he plotted repeatedly to regain power. When these schemes were discovered, Amasis made a calculated decision. The angry crowd dragged Apries from his confinement. They executed him in a way that avoided spilling royal blood, strangling him with a cord, slowly choking the life from the man who once ruled them. Some ancient accounts suggest he may have died in battle instead, but Egyptian tradition long remembered his end as a humiliating downfall at the hands of his own subjects. Assassination of Amenemhat Aver. In 1962 BC, Pharaoh Amenemhat I, the founder of Egypt's powerful 12th dynasty, was murdered in his sleep. According to the ancient tale, the story of Sinuhe, the killing happened late at night inside the royal palace at Ichitawi. The attackers were members of his own royal guard, the very men sworn to defend him. They were likely acting for rival groups within the court. Moving silently through the dark corridors, the guards slipped into the king's chamber while he slept. The first strike was a dagger driven deep into his side, a blow that probably jolted him awake. A short but violent struggle followed, as several conspirators stabbed him again and again with bronze blades. The final fatal strike was a thrust straight to his heart. In his instructions, said to be written for his son Senusret, the dying king delivered one last message: "Trust no brother, know no friend." The slaying of Berenice III. In 80 BC, Queen Berenice III, one of Egypt's most respected and widely loved rulers, was forced by the rising power of Rome to accept a co-ruler, her young stepson, Ptolemy XI. To secure the arrangement, the two were married, even though neither wanted the union. Only 19 days after the wedding, Ptolemy XI, who had spent most of his life under Roman influence, made his move. While Berenice slept, hired assassins slipped into her private chambers. She tried to fight them off, but the struggle was hopeless. One attacker seized her and dragged a blade across her throat, cutting her jugular vein and killing her almost instantly. The plan collapsed immediately. When the people of Alexandria heard that their beloved queen had been murdered, fury swept through the city. Citizens stormed the palace, captured the young king, and dragged him to the gymnasium. There, the mob tore him apart, ripping his limbs from his body while he was still alive. His reign ended violently and lasted less than 3 weeks. The deadly coup of Ramesses III. Ramesses III, a strong and experienced pharaoh of Egypt's 20th dynasty, was famous for protecting his kingdom from foreign threats. But while Egypt appeared secure, a dangerous plot was forming inside the royal palace. His secondary wife, Tiye, was determined to replace the rightful heir and place her own son, Pentuer, on the throne. One night, in 1155 BC, the conspirators finally acted. Ramesses was attacked suddenly and with extreme violence inside his own palace. For centuries, no one knew exactly how he died. In 2012, modern CT scans revealed the shocking truth. His throat had been cut so deeply that both his windpipe and esophagus were completely severed. The wound would have killed him almost instantly. The scans also showed that his big toe had been chopped off, likely by a different weapon, suggesting multiple attackers or a frantic assault. His injured body became silent proof of a carefully planned and ruthless coup. In the end, the conspiracy failed. Court records reveal that those involved were captured and severely punished. Pentuer never became king, and the violent plot that ended Ramesses III's life did not change Egypt's line of succession. The split skull of Seqenenre-Tao. During Egypt's 17th dynasty, around 1560 BC, Pharaoh Seqenenre-Tao led the resistance against the Hyksos, foreign rulers who controlled northern Egypt. His mummy reveals the horrifying details of his final moments, a death so brutal that it stunned even seasoned archaeologists. Modern CT scans and X-ray studies expose the full extent of the violence. His skull shows evidence of at least 5 severe wounds. Powerful blows struck his forehead, landed above his right eye, and crushed his nose, likely leaving him helpless. A deep stab wound at the base of his skull shows where a dagger or spear was thrust upward into his brain. The final injury was a savage cut that ripped through his left cheek and shattered his jaw. Forensic analysis suggests Seqenenre was probably kneeling or lying down when most of these wounds were delivered. He was not killed during the chaos of open battle, but carefully and deliberately executed. The injuries closely match known Hyksos weapons. Most disturbing of all, his body appears to have been left exposed for hours after death, indicating he died far from his palace, possibly as a prisoner in enemy hands.